Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'll be showing you my Primal collection. Now if you haven't heard of Primal, nor haven't even know what it is a PlayStation 2 game released in 2003 by Ski Cambridge, which unfortunately do not exist anymore because they closed down in 2016 or 2017 and is now replaced by Gorilla Cambridge. It is an action, adventure, fantasy, horror-based game which centres around a 20-year-old woman named Jen who loses her rockstar boyfriend Lewis outside a club, who's taken away by a demon called Balthazar, I think. Maybe I got it wrong. And who he's taken off into the night by this demon who turns out to be Abaddon, or Abaddon's sidekick, who is the Order of Chaos. And so Jen has to go off into the realms of oblivion in search for him. Now, she is knocked out by the demon, she survives. Well, they both survive, but Lewis is taken off and she's left there. Even though we don't know why, because, spoilers, we know that she is probably the daughter of Abaddon, and hence why she has a tattoo on her back, which is the Nexus tattoo, based in Oblivion, which is the world she goes into. But not only thinking, she just thought it was her boyfriend's band's tattoo, which is, his music is played by 16 Volt, which is like a kind of a punky, rocky band, which kind of sound like Static X. So she has to go into the realms of Oblivion. The hub world that we eventually start at is called Nexus, and this has 4 realms. One is Solum, Aquis, Athena, which is my favourite one, because not only because of the wraiths and the purple, because of the vambrace she wears, they all correspond to the colour of the world, so this was purple, and obviously the world is bigger, and it's bleak, and she has to visit all 4 realms to try and search for him. But in the end, spoilers, we do find him, but he is possessed by Abaddon. So, like many games, we have to defeat the boss. And so in the end, we do defeat him, but there are some cheats that you can input into the console. The invincibility cheat, where you can with just one wipe, you could just defeat the boss with just one click, one move, or barely anything, which I've done after I actually completed the game once, fully, without any cheats. So she has this little sidekick called Scree, who is my avatar on the PS4. Used to be my avatar on the PS4 for a long time, but now he's just replaced by a butterfly from Life is Strange. But I will be switching back to Scree because first, Primal is like my favourite game on the PS2, but also I didn't realise that I was so surprised to find Scree or any character for Primal on there, so I was so happy about that. So she befriends this Scree gargoyle creature who's her psychic along her journey. But yeah, in the end she finds Lewis, and she eventually has to say goodbye to Nexus and the whole realms. So the last scene plays where Lewis is in hospital and she is by his side. But then it just cuts off there. There was a hint of a sequel if you online, and not only online begged for it, but the ending scene begged for it as well, where even though it ended quite nicely, I really wanted a sequel, but unfortunately I was so sad knowing there would be no sequel. First off, because it's been many years since the game was released, and also the actor Andreas Katsoulis, who you might have known from Babylon 5, has passed away, so probably be no Primal. But there is I think back on PS3 you could actually play Primal, download Primal, and also in PSN and PS4, which I have done so far. So Jen wears these vambraces, which correspond to each of the world that she visits. So, but obviously my favourite world used to be Athena. I always switched to the Fair Eye though, which is the Solum, because you run fast and also you jump high as well, so I always switch to that form. all the time, even though the Wraith is probably my favourite world, but I still switch to the Fair Eye because green for me kind of associates with it. So yeah, if you want more information on the game or like more tidbits, then I have included if you want to check it out, I've included a complementary video which is text-based, in a text-based format in a slideshow. So if you want to check that out, then you're free to do so. But in the meantime, I'm just going to that's the introduction out of the way. I'm just going to show you my collection. So Primal, as you know already, Primal is my favourite PS2 game, and it was the first action adventure game that I ever got. My dad got me it. It was during the time where PS2 was new to me, and I only had, I think like one game with it. I think it was back in 2005 or something. I remember I getting the silver PS2, which I still have, with 2 silver controllers, which I don't have anymore because the wire got too tangled, and now I'm only left with a controller which is Wildcats, which I got a long time ago by my uncle. So, and that I got with a PS2 mag with The Sims on it. So Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup was my first game, and then so my dad set out, like he did back then, he got me Primal. This is the original copy. And yeah, it's still really good condition. So as you can see, it's a 15, but on the PSN store, apparently it's an 18. Don't know why. I think I kind of agree with it because it's really dark and got quite graphic, a lot of blood everywhere, which is good. And see the Nexus symbol there, but it is actually the Nexus symbol, but she doesn't realise it. She thinks it's Lewis's band symbol. So we've got the screen there, we've got red and black, and the back as well. I'll just read it briefly. A modern fantasy adventure of breathtaking scope and detail. Explore huge, diverse worlds of violence and intrigue, because at the time it was a huge feat back in the day because of the graphics. And probably being biased here because you know, I do love the game, and yeah, it's just a huge thing back then, and no wonder why it is my favourite game, because of the female protagonist. You can play as a female protagonist, and it's quite dark, and I guess that's where my love of crows came from, because I think this was the first game that I heard proper crows in. So I think that's how I became to love the sound of crows and the whole gothic thing in general, maybe. So switch to Scree the Gargoyle at any time for a totally different set of powers, which you can climb up walls and use a rope and gently just help her along the way. And in the end, he turns into a completely different creature, his original creature, a taller creature, and you find out in the end. So an ordinary girl, a realm of demons, and epic conflicts between primal forces. Transform between 4 demonic forms, each with unique abilities and combat styles. So, you know, the 4 forms which I've mentioned before. You can switch to an Undyne, which is water-based, a volcanic creature called the Djinn, a ram with horns, which is the form I most change into, and the vampire, the Wraith, with the whip. So all action combat systems for combos, the finishing moves, but I find them really quite flourishing. I do like them, even though they are quite easy and just the combat is easy. So yeah, that's that one. In it we have the disc, the original disc, which still works. I always played in this version of the game, but now since I'll be downloading the PS4 version, I'll be playing that as well. But doesn't mean I'm not going to play from the PS2 versions. So I have the manual, so this is a UK based company. So I think that's the reason why they put more love into the manuals, because of the parchment looking authentic manual. So I have the nectar symbol, the primal there. I really do like the red there. And the little artworks there, so that is demon form Lewis and Jen. So the sequel had no mention of Lewis, just had a mention of Mortalis, which is the mortal world, and just Jen, and then all the demons being transported there, but nothing else really came to light. It just has all the information, all the controls and startups. I just like these little images there. You know, and then we have the everything that manual has, and all the demon forms you can shift into, all the appropriate directions you have to. So Fair Eye would be left, or Undyne would be up, Wraith right, and Jinn would be down. So all the forms there. And then Scree can collect these energy stones, which can help Jen to absorb his energy and regain power. I remember dying once, well, I think most notably once in the Wraith section, just because I just died by the combat. I think I was not a normal mode, but so at the end, so when you die, Scree has to immediately rush to a rift gate and grab, which is a portal which grabs her. So trying to grab her, who she lays in hospital. So that's a rift gate, and I like these little rift gates. And it will touch you. Stands either side. You can either control Scree, Jen, or Scree. So you stand either side, and then Scree or Jen automatically goes to that area, do the wheel, and then they turn it, and then eventually, because a big orb of light surrounds it, so you have to eventually go through it to a different world. So that's what I really do like about it. The kind of sci-fi almost, if you wanna. And then all the energy lodestones, a little map. Well, barely a map, but I think that's a map of that's Solum. So different sections there, and the little yellow bits are the rift gates you can visit. So luckily, I think they're probably equivalent to not time travel, what to call it. Quickly thrust into combat with a lot of other Fair Eye enemies, and you defeat them with the same combat, same repetitive combat, which I know go to different sections. And then we have hints and tips and a picture of Scree. And credits. So that's that one. And then in this, I have these two little books. Well, there's two images of Primal at the back, but I only brought these out just for this video. And this is for Mark of Cree, and then the Getaway, which also has a little pamphlet with the game as well, and also a 16-volt little advertisement. With their music, you can automatically enter to win a signed limited edition of the CD. And because I never heard of the band before this, so it's music from Primal, and it's a PlayStation 2 exclusive. So hence why I've only got PlayStation 2 copies and variants, which it's quite surprising. I don't know why no other console was mentioned, no other format has been made for it, no PC, no GameCube, no Xbox. I don't know why. Kind of sad, because my other game, which I'll show you in my next collection video, does have other formats it was put on. So that's the first game. So the purpose of this video is showing you all my collection that I have. So the next thing I have, this was the only game, the original game I didn't get from eBay, but the rest I did. So first thing is the demo. This didn't cost much at all, because I know now on eBay they can sell for £20, or bidding for £20, so I was quite lucky. Limited edition preview, so the demo disc has the back, and the little CD. I've put this in my console already, so I know it works. So I think it's only like a 15-minute playthrough, I think. So it's, let's see, it is, so it begins in Solum, so you have all the basics, but the difference between the demo and the actual game is that they have obviously instructions of what to do on the screen, but also text speech on the bottom, which doesn't happen in the original game. And so it starts in Solum just before you reach the temple to meet Herne in the big church. So Jen transitions into a demon form of Fair Eye, so you get to grips with the whole combat and whole demon form. But I think before then you can control Scree, and you can collect the lodestones, which eventually boost. Eventually you can collect to a certain amount to transform into a statue, which he does to help either open doors or I think it's just open doors, but that's just a helper. So instead of exiting the temple, which you do in the final product, you use a rift gate, which is in the bowels of the church, which is there in the original game, but that's not what you do. You exit the temple, but instead you actually go down the bowels of the church to use it. And also the bowels look different, kind of better than the original game, because they're more graphically pleasing than the original. And also whilst Jen transitions, you hear weird sounds, which sound effects which don't happen in the original game either. So you use Riftgate, and that was probably the quickest way to do it than the original game does. I think that's what the demo wants you to do. Was the purpose of it? It's the purpose of the Riftgate, so it quickly tells you what to do rather than just, because it's only 15-minute demo. So you eventually go into the village bit, and so you are thrust into the combat with a lot of so you exit after the rift gate, you go into the village, and you eventually get into this open place where you are quickly thrust, just like the original game, you are quickly thrust into combat with a lot of other Fair Eye enemies, and you defeat them with the same repetitive combat, which I know most people don't like, but I do, because it's saved by the flourishing combat moves and the combos. And so after that, again, you have to use Scree to go into the you have to use Jen to go into the crack of the wall to open the door, so he into the what do you call it? Not the courtyard, the little place where you have to open the gate. So then she opens the door, and then so you help Scree to enter through the door, and then to help her with the lever, so you open the gate, and then the demo ends. So yeah, that's the demo. Sorry about the awkward kind of talking there, but next I have